Welcome back to the conversation. I'm Nubarat. The conversation we talk about different things that are going on in the community. Last couple of weeks, we had some candidates on that are running for local and state office. So, kind of want to be able to educate the listeners and the viewers about different things that are going on in the community. And I want to invite a person who's really been right out of high school, right into the politics of Brockton, and is now running for state rep. Really sharp young man. And I think he has a lot of potential. Jack Lally. Jack, appreciate you coming on the podcast.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Jack, for the listeners out there who don't know who you are, you made history by being one of the youngest city councilors, in Brockton. I assume one of the youngest in the state. Just talk about what got you into politics right out of high school and why you're running for state rep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been interested in politics for a long time. In high school, I would be, watching the news and things like that. I'd learn more about the city and what's going on in the city. And, a lot of people are interested in politics. No, you sit there and it's like when you have an interest or a passion in anything. You have thoughts on how it could be done differently or better or, something like that. But as opposed to, like football where I can see a better way to do it, but there's no way I could survive actually doing it. Yeah. Politics is something that anyone can get into. So I said, I'm gonna lose my mind if I just sit here. I'm gonna get out and try and do something.
So right off the bat, you started to serve, and you're the Ward 6 city council right now. Talk about some things that you've been able to accomplish, or things you're really proud of being a city councilor, and then what led you to say you want to run for state rep?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one thing I do want to touch on, a little point of pride, not necessarily something I did, but I'm a member of an organization called the Young Elected Officials Network. So it's elected officials 35 and under. I went to a couple of conferences and I met another city councilor there from Michigan. And his name was Jewel Jones. And he was 2 years older than me, and he was the youngest African American councilor in the United States. So we determined that the odds were pretty good that we were both the youngest, and that was great. He's a very good guy, and he's out doing great for his community as well. He's also a state representative, actually.
Now, where is this at? I'm just curious.
Inkster.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's out there. He was a councilor over there. But yeah, in terms of things that we've done for the community, I really like to focus on sort of the nonpartisan kind of issues. And it's not like a cop-out or anything like that. It's that they just don't get the attention. Things like infrastructure. We've got huge infrastructure problems, especially on the east side. Water pressure issues, the roads are bad. I've got neighborhoods that, they haven't seen a road repaved ever. The people who put the road in that they use every day were talking about whether or not they were going to vote for JFK. Like that.
Right.
That's something else. That's not the best thing. So that's really what we're dealing with is, how do we improve? We should have, I say we, but the city should have, gotten a jump on this years ago, but they didn't. So now we have to play with what we got.
So what are some things that you tackled as a Ward 6 councilor that you're the most proud of, and then the big step to the state house in terms of running for office there? What are some things some key highlights that you want constituents to know about?
So the average ward councilor paves one road per year. I've paved 10 roads in 4. We're probably going to do another 2 or 3 this year. We've already gotten 1 down. And that's out of 205 streets. So, another one would be communication. Communication's a big one for me. You're electing me, you're paying me. You might as well, have somebody who's going to do the job. If I miss people's calls, I return them within 24 hours. It's a priority. We did a lot of work with parks, getting things invested. Robert Kraft donated the Patriots Playground. Was able to shepherd that through the council, get some money from the BRA, things like that. And a couple other things, we've public safety, keeping the fire station on Cary Hill open.
Yep.
The other one would be, the other one would be education.
Right.
The state changed the funding formula for Chapter 70. The city of Brockton was the biggest loser in the state, lost $16 million.
Absolutely.
The council worked with the school committee and the mayor and, found whatever money we could and sent it over to them. We really stepped, worked together. And when, the council moved a ton of money over, and, sort of narrowing in on that, at one point, one of the schools that I represent was, eyed for closure. They were weighing their options. They said, well, we might be able to save a couple $1 million by closing the school. And I worked with, my school committee woman to fight that. We were prepared to go all the way with that because it wouldn't have made any sense.
So it sounds like you're saying, like, your strength is just, getting partnerships and really, leaving the political stuff, I guess, out the way and just really going to getting the job done.
Yeah, and the political stuff is important, don't get me wrong, but if it's credit versus achievement, I'm happy to take the achievement and let somebody else take the credit. I want to get it done.
Why run for state rep?
I think there's more to do there. The council has a lot going on, and I very much enjoy being a part of the council. But we need some help up there, and I just don't feel we're getting it. And the other communities that are involved in this, because it's Brockton, West Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, they're pretty frustrated too.
What separates you from Michelle Dubois?
I think from off the bat, the communication is a big one. I would also point back to the working with others. I think that's pretty important. A lot of the things that I will list as achievements, I say we. I don't say I did it, because it wasn't just me. You gotta work as a team. You and you alone did not deliver X, Y, or Z. You're a part of a legislature. There's teamwork involved there.
What are some actually, let's back it up. I mean, and I'm sure you hear about this. The criticism is, Jack, you're too young.
Yeah.
Jack, you haven't been able to, own, such and such mortgage and this, that, and the other. How you expect to do this? What do you say to those critics and skeptics that I'm sure you've been hearing since you've been a city councilor?
Yeah, you hear it.
What do you say to them?
Well, my big thing is, if you're using that excuse, if you don't like me for whatever reason, the odds are, if I was 40 with a mortgage and a wife and a couple of kids, you probably still wouldn't like me. You'd just have to find another reason. It's the too young thing never really works. I don't really buy into it. And the other thing, and this is the most important.
Jack, do you think that benefits you? I mean, what's the advantage of that?
Oh yeah, I think it does. I think it does benefit me. I have time and energy to get a lot of things done that other people might not. I can attend meetings and events that that other people can't. It makes me more accessible. It makes me have I have more time to get out there and learn and do things. And the big thing is, and this is it's a little simple way to put it, but this is not a job that I just got dropped on me.
Right.
This is something that I was duly elected to 3 times, and each time I got 10% more of the vote. So, for anyone criticizing my age or what my financial obligations are, I mean, I've got college debt. I don't need to go into that. But if anyone's got any problem with it, it's a little funny. But scoreboard, like I got 80% of the vote in November. There's the people who are going out there and voting and who are deciding, who's going to represent their interests, feel that I can do it.
How do you ease those concerns that you're hearing?
Well,
some of them are legitimate concerns.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
How do you ease the mother who's 60 or the grandmother who's 70 who say, I'm going through things that you have not lived through. How do you ease those concerns?
Yeah. Well, there are things that I'm never going to live through. Mm-hmm. You've had experiences that I will never have. And the only thing you can do in that case is listen. You can't say, okay, well, you know what? I'm the counselor, and just not hear it. you've gotta do more listening than talking, because you're there to represent them. They're not there to just keep you going.
I think it's a great transition to listening. The big topic the last, with the coronavirus and with George Floyd and the awful incident in Minnesota has been, racial injustice and policing, and being able to listen on either side. Listen from the police officer's perspective, listen from the minority's perspective.
Yeah.
Big bill passed through the Senate. Now it's in the House, and it's going to go into committee now. What are your thoughts on the police reform bill, qualified immunity, and defunding police? That's a big question all in one. So let's try to attack a few of them.
All right. Yeah. The bill, I think, I still have my concerns about it, my questions about. I think at some level, it's a little bit of, just that they rushed it. The government is supposed to go slow, because that means that everyone can look at what they're doing, everyone can see the hands, nothing's being, nothing stupid's going on.
Right.
And so when people move too fast, mistakes are made, and then they go back a couple years later and say, "Oh, I didn't intend to do this," but they just pushed it through. So I think, at the very least, it needs more time. At its level now, I wouldn't have voted for it if I were there.
What were parts of the bill that concerned you in particular?
I just think parts of it were too ambiguous. Like I can't specifically narrow down, because what isn't there.
Right.
But I heard from people who were for it. I heard from people who were against it. One of the people who was really opposed to it, that spoke very well, was Alan Silva, who's a state representative for Fall River, and Alan was like, well, I recognize that things need to be done, there needs to be change, but I don't feel that we're doing justice to the people seeking change by throwing this, just throwing this against a wall in the interest of timeliness. It's a matter of, are you going to do what's right, or are you going to do something before an election? Because the election is closing in. And, I'd rather do it right, because you've been elected to do the job right, not do the job forever.
The big thing, part of the bill, was qualified immunity. That was one of the big controversial parts of the bill. What are your thoughts about that?
Qualified immunity is something that, I think I'd be happy to take a look at, happy to discuss. But I know that it is a major point of concern for not just the police, but the fire department, municipal employees, everybody. There's a whole lot of people who, as soon as qualified immunity comes up, they get very, very interested in what's going on. And I think that if you want to talk about it, if you want to poke around it, you want to reform it a little, reform is good. Throwing out the baby with the bathwater is not. And I think qualified immunity has to stick around. I don't think that you're going to, from just a practical point of view, I don't think you're going to get very many police officers with qualified immunity gone. Your academies are going to be empty. The people close to retirement, they're going to go. I encounter a lot of police officers in, just my day-to-day operations. I serve on the traffic commission with some. When there are concerns about the community, I know, which people to call, and the senior officers who are a couple years from retirement say, if this isn't looking too good, I'm just going to get out. I'm gone.
What are you hearing from your constituents in terms of that? Because obviously, some people feel like, this is a landmark opportunity to make some sweeping change.
Yeah.
Because there's some fear. Whether it's right or wrong, perception is reality, particularly the minority community.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to them in terms of, if you're in the case of being a state rep and you voted against it, what would you say to your constituents then?
Well, yeah, basically, I just want to make sure that we get you something good,
Mm-hmm.
not something quick. Something that achieves the reform that people want, not achieves the goal of getting me reelected. That's what it is. So, you throw something together real quick and you throw it out there and hopefully it works, but there are going to be problems with it. You got to be more methodical about it. I think that people should be given more of a chance to speak, and I know COVID is makes that a little difficult.
Right.
But the House had a public hearing, but it was a singular public hearing on a very quickly passed bill. I think they should have been given more time. I think people should have been given the chance to have their thoughts known. And I've been going around the district. There are a lot of people, whether or not they know what's in the bill, who have their fair share of concerns with it.
Last part on that. The big thing is defunding police.
Defunding police.
So I know the city council didn't defund the police, but they held back some overtime money. I think it was $200,000.
Yeah.
And they can go back and ask for it again.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that? Some people think the word defund is a horrible word. People should think it should be reallocating. The Joe Kennedy debate and Senator Markey, I think he said reimagine. So defunding police. How do you feel about that?
I don't think it's wise. Taking it literally, I don't think defunding the police is wise. I think that defund the police, the movement, the hashtag, what people are pushing for, I think that's just the word that came together out of sort of some level of frustration. But I don't think literally defunding the police is the way to go. I know that Brockton's department already is undermanned. We don't have enough officers as it is. And the city does not have the problems that, states in the Midwest do. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts does not. Another big thing is a lot of the things that, that the bill currently going on in the State House is looking to address. We already do. We background check, we psychologically, check people before we hire them as officers. We have a lot of strict training and requirements that other states do not. And I could be wrong about this next part, but from what I understand, when say you're a police officer in Massachusetts, and you move down to Alabama, and you want to be a police officer down there, they bring you through a quick abbreviated academy just to get you up to date on their laws, their rules, and their regulations, and you're good to go. But say you flip that, say you're in Alabama, you're a police officer, and you want to become a cop in Massachusetts. Massachusetts does not recognize Alabama's training in the way Alabama recognizes Massachusetts. So when you come up from Alabama to be a cop in Massachusetts, we make you go through the whole academy again, because you're not up to our standard.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea coming from Alabama.
Yeah.
With all the history.
Just to pick a state.
Yeah.
Is it random? Yeah.
I do want to give you a chance. So, if you get into the office, what are some top priorities that you are going to attack as a state rep?
Big things, bringing home the bacon. Making sure that the district receives the aid and the funding that it needs. I'm a firm believer that, a major portion of the state representative's role is to be a resource for the communities they represent. You need help, the rep tries to help. For example, the representative for Hanson, Josh Cutler, he was approached by the Hanson's DPW. Hanson said, hey, we have a machine that helps clean and maintain the ponds we have. It's 30, 40 years old. It's starting to break down. We're going to need a new one, and we have no money. So what Cutler did is Cutler went up there and advocated for them and brought home about 85-90% of the funding required to buy a brand new machine, which they went out and did. That's part of what the representative does. That's, the representative brings things and fights for them on behalf of not only the constituents, but the constituent communities. I think that's something that we really need. And the other one, it's a little off the wall, municipal autonomy. So right now,
I don't say words I can't spell.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm walking a line.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah.
type it on the
Yeah,
iPhone.
yeah.
It'll fix it for me. Yeah. So municipal autonomy, a lot of the city, and I'll just use Brockton for an example because I'm a counselor there. I see it now.
Right.
A lot of Brockton's aid from the state is tied to other things. You take this money, but you take it knowing you have to do X, Y, and Z. So, we take a couple $1,000,000 a year from Chapter 90, which is our road money. That's how we pave our streets. But in order to do that, we have to follow certain MassDOT rules, things like that. So, and this is a fun fact that nobody really knows. Brockton does not control its own speed limits. We don't set them. We can set a fundamental speed law, and everything else that's already posted is already posted. But we do not, we can't just go out and change the speed limit of Oak Street. We can't go out and change the speed limit of, Winter or Hovenden, or Plain Street. Can't do it. I represent North Quincy Street on the city council. That road has its fair share of accidents, you could say. A lot of speeders. There's nothing to stop you, if you time it right, from East Ashland Street all the way into the downtown Holbrook. You can just go as fast as you like. And so people do. And they speed, and sometimes they crash. So we went out to, we brought MassDOT out and the Traffic Commission to see what could be done about some of the more dangerous intersections or, corners, just areas where there are problems. And we said, well, how about we lower the speed limit here? It's 30 miles an hour, drop it down to 25, just see if that has an effect. And MassDOT said, can't really do that. And we said, well, what do you mean? And they said, okay, well, you can't change your own speed limit, but if you'd like to change your speed limit, you could apply for a speed adjustment. And so we said, well, what's that? And they said, we'll go out and we'll measure the average speed of cars on the street, and using the logic that most of them don't crash, we'll use the average as your new speed limit. And I was like, well, that's probably going to go backwards. It's probably going to go up.
Right.
And they're like, oh, that's how we do it. It's like, that doesn't work for us. So, we want to bring neighborhood roads down to 20, 25 miles an hour. Places where kids are playing. We pave a road, people want to speed down it. You have to take some action. But, they're a little difficult. People don't realize how little of a say in some places the local government has. So, using the logic that, cities and towns know what's best for cities and towns, I think it would be beneficial for all involved to, ease the state off a little. Let the city of Brockton put a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on a small neighborhood street where there are a bunch of kids. And
you're saying you'd advocate for that over on Beacon Hill.
Yeah.
Jack, we're running short on time. I just want you to remind the listeners and the viewers, when's the election, and why should they vote for you?
No, I appreciate it. The election is September 1st. You can vote early voting at the mall last week, August, and you can vote by mail. State sent out all those applications. A lot of people are doing it. It was in the news the other day. They're getting a lot of applications back. My big things are communication, public safety, fiscal responsibility, infrastructure, and in the municipal autonomy. You just got to go in there and get the job done. It's not about the fanfare. It's just about doing the job. That's what it's about. So all I ask is for people's consideration. It's a Democratic primary. There is no Republican. There is no independent. It all ends September 1st.
So this is it. So definitely go out, make your voice heard September 1st. And Jack, wish you the best of luck. And you listen to the conversation, guys. Be sure we're going to have more candidates on to get different perspectives. So until next time, guys, Godspeed, whatever that means.